Hello everyone. I hope you are doing good. So Tech Info is back with another video, weekly videos I am creating to understand migration in detail and deep dive into various detailed topics that are very important to understand the migration perspective. So what I'm trying to explain is today we are going to understand evaluating current architecture and performance. So you need to understand the application architecture, how things are working in the application perspective, and different components, how they are communicating, how the application is being accessed over the internet, how is the performance. So those things I'm going to discuss in today's video. So far I have covered a lot of things. If you haven't seen my previous videos, you can go through that and you can learn about various topics that I have covered. And let me go to the agenda of this meet or what I have covered so far. So these are the agenda items that I have covered so far in my previous videos. I have covered understanding migration objectives, comprehensive application inventory and discovery, how we can assess application criticality and risks, and evaluation of current architecture and performance. This I am going to cover today. And in the coming videos, I'm going to cover these topics. So be subscribe to my channel so that you can have latest knowledge about application, how we are going to migrate, and what all aspects has to be kept in mind. So all these things are really important, and I haven't seen that anyone is sharing these things, and because maybe they are having less time, but from knowledge sharing perspective, we are creating various videos so that students who are keen to learn migration, they can learn all these things. So that's why I'm creating these videos so that you can get benefit out of these videos, right? So I have covered these topics. If you have not sure which what is covered in previous meetings, you can take a look at other videos which is created part 1, 2, and 3. Apart from this, I have also created practical videos also. Practical video which showcases how we are going to migrate on-premises applications to AWS cloud. So that is totally practical options or tools that are there on AWS, how to migrate those applications from on-premises to AWS. So those kind of videos which are more specific from technical perspective, I have created that video and you can see that video also. That's really liked by various students, and then I got a lot of comments from the students. So they said that we want to deep dive into migration to understand all other aspects like how to understand the migration objectives, who stakeholders are, and what application inventory we have to take it, how to discover the application, how to assess the application criticality. So these things are really important apart from migrating the applications from on-premises to this thing, so that this whole migration can be very, very smooth, and we can migrate applications from on-premises which are really complex in nature, right? So I hope these things will really help you out. Take a look at these videos and you can learn out. So I have covered all these topics in my previous videos. So let's cover today's topic. What I'm going to cover in today's topic is, yeah, evaluating current architecture and performance. So coming to the typical sample application diagram that is hosted on premises. So this is a typical application architecture uh, which is having some application servers which is hosted on premises, having some database servers, having some sensitive data stored on NAS. It can be anything, any storage or where data is being stored, right? And we have some backup and DR options. We have logging and monitoring enabled. We have authentication services, and Then coming on perimeter security, we have load balancer, firewall, IDS IPS solution, and this application is being accessed over the internet. And we have different segregation of the networks also that is coming from, and we have internal firewall that is again securing the application, and then we have another segregation where the backend servers are hosted, right? So they have all these connections to the backend services. It can, this is just a sample, there can be more options also, maybe like we can, there could be a firewall over here also uh, to secure the backend services. So anything can be there, right? So from understanding perspective, I have covered these things. So to understand the application, you really need to understand how the traffic is coming from internet, how the applications are being accessed. So this is a sample application. There can be a lot of application servers that are hosted in the server form of the application, right? It can be a monolithic or it can be installed on Kubernetes, anything could be there, right? So from that perspective, you can understand all these things, how they are installed, how access is coming, how network security is there, how dependent services are there, authentication, logging, backup, and DR. So you can understand all these, how application is making the connections, what kind of authentication services, connections to database are there. So all these things you can have a complete understanding. And as I completed in my previous videos, what documents you have to gather to understand all these applications in detail, that's really important, right? So document existing topology and configurations, right? So as I covered in the previous topic, network mapping, configuration details, facilitating redesign. So once you have understanding, you can have an efficient redesign or optimization when migrating to systems to the clouds. So if we talk about network mapping, you need to understand like how all these network services are installed, what's their functionality, what policies are configured on these network components, how access is being coming over the internet, and what kind of policies are configured on IDS IPS, and what rules are there on the firewalls. So all these things are very important to understand the complete network mapping. What kind of connections are being made on what port, and this application is making connection to database servers. It can be a SQL server or PostgreSQL server, anything can be there. Or what connections are being made to storage type, or what connections are there to the DR for logging and monitoring for authentication purposes. So entirely from network perspective, you should have a complete understanding of the network mapping. This is quite simple diagram, but when we talk about more complex applications, I'll cover in more details, or maybe we are going to cover those in a bit paid program that can also be there. So you can join those programs as well, where we are going to cover more complex applications. So all these things can be there, like router and switches can be there. So from that perspective, network diagram is really very, very important to understand, right? So you should have complete understanding about the network mapping. Existing topology, you should capture connections and infrastructure and accurate cloud migration, so that you can have a migration planning. So all those connections of application to DB, to storage, to monitoring, to logging, and coming from internet connections, all these connections that are coming to application. So all these things are very, very important, right? System configurations, right? You need to ensure that all the system configurations, how the application is configured, all settings, that can really help to understand. System configuration means the configuration of the application servers, their CPUs, their RAM, and storage of the servers, based on which you can analyze the usage of the servers, how much they are being utilized, and configuration of the database servers, how many RAM, uh, CPUs, storage, and then connection to storage part. So what kind of storage it is, how it is configured, what are the configuration settings. If there is a DR, what all DR is configured. It is a hot standby, warm standby. What kind of DR is there? What component servers are configured, storage is configured over here. So all these things you have to capture it. And authentication services, what kind of authentication service it is, what's the underlying infrastructure of the authentication services, logging and monitoring, what kind of tools application is using for logging and monitoring, so that you can have a similar kind of logging and monitoring over the internet. So all these things are really important. If these are hardware firewalls, you need to understand the configuration of these firewalls also, right? How many connections are there from the firewalls, based on which all these details are really, really important to gather, based on which you can decide the target components on AWS, which is very important, right? Based on this, you can these all these things are going to help you in the designing the target reference architecture, all those low level details based on which you are going to deploy the instances, use various AWS services, so that you can have a same type of even improved performance of the applications and security from that perspective. So all these things are really, really very important. So you can understand how deep I'm going deep diving into the application infrastructure. These things are really how they are done in real-time environment. All these things are discussed in that, right? So since you have once you have all these detailed things about network, about system configuration, this will really help you in facilitating the redesign and optimization of the existing applications, right? Then I was talking about the resource utilization and performance baselines. So once you understand all those RAM and CPU utilization of the application, you will understand how much utilization is there. Servers are being used. Track the resource consumption to identify trends. For example, if a application is being going to 95%, right? So based on which you have to decide in the target reference architecture design, the CPU should be at least doubled what is existing. For example, if there are currently 8, you should at least 16 vCPUs on the target reference architecture. If it is having 32 GB RAM, at least it should have 64 GB RAM, based on which you can identify and streamline or improve the application performance. So these are the various factors that can help you to avoid bottlenecks in the cloud infrastructure. So all these understanding, you can get asked for various reports from the team, how the graphs are there, although these are not much related to the application. These are simple diagrams, but what I'm trying to say is the usage monitoring. These kind of graphs can be there about the CPU utilization, about RAM. So you can see when you see the graph, it will be like this one. Like it will show you the percentile over here and in the time period over here. So you can see various graphs that are there. So based on which you can say it is at least touching this line, which is going to 75%. So based on which you can say recommend that at least we have to move application to the next available hardware configuration that is there, or virtual server that is available. So all these things are really very important. So how they are maintaining, there may be some monitoring tools they are using, or logging tools where you can see how application is performing, and what kind of logs it is sending for in case of any alerts or in case of any utilization. So all these things you can gather as information to decide from usage monitoring, performance baselines, right? What kind of metrics are configured based on which you can compare to future changes and optimize system efficiency. So you have to understand what is the baseline, how number of users that are accessing the application, that is helping to baseline establish of the performance. So based on this, all these details, you have to establish some kind of baseline based on which you can say, okay, this is the current scenario that is there. This is the current baseline performance that is there. So in the target reference or target design, target architecture, I'm going to have a same kind of a baseline in the architecture, or maybe at the improved levels also. So apart from this, you can scaling design decisions based on understanding the application resources and performance data. This will really help you to understand scaling the cloud resources effectively. So for example, there could be a certain scenario, like for example, if there is a customer that there is application for shopping, right? So you need to understand how much load is there on their website, on the application during festivals or during any special periods, based on which you can decide scaling part. For example, if you can say during night time or when there's not much load, two servers are sufficient to handle the entire application load, right? This is just for example, right? One or two. So you can, in the scaling part, you can say minimum capacity I want to keep as two servers. But in case there is some festival that is coming, or some users are new products are being launched on the applications, so you have to handle all this traffic that is coming there. So you can tell that if the utilization of average utilization of both these servers go beyond 60%, add another server, add another server over. So how, what is going to happen is, if the average utilization of both these servers is going to over 60, a third server will be added. So then using the load balancers, all the traffic will be distributed to all the servers. So that's how you can maintain. Even you can add more servers also, right? As per the load that is growing, or even to festival, you can say this can go up to 10 servers. You can define that limit also. So you have to understand all the application, the how application functionality is working, how the functions are there of the application, how they are impacting the performance of the application, how it is impacting the business of the application. So all these things are very important to understand in depth, because once you understand these things, based on which you can take various decisions that are really important in deciding the target reference architectures. So I hope all these things are really helpful when you are assessing the current application from the hardware perspective, from the network perspective, from performance perspective, and the functionality of the application. So all these things are very, very important, that will really help you in deciding the target reference architecture. You might have seen that in the practical video, I was just telling you how to migrate the application. But before migrating, all these things are really important, based on which I am creating these videos, so that you can have a deep dive into the migration, and you should have a holistical approach of the migration, right? So again, I'm saying you can gain a lot of knowledge with these videos, and that will really help you in understanding the application migration. So once we have scalability, understand the scalability and reliability requirements, then you need to understand scalability issue detection. I was explaining you in the previous video. So identify the bottlenecks, where the performance bottlenecks are there. So all these things are very, very important to understand. I was explaining you in the previous video. what kind of bottlenecks are possible that limit the system scalability under increased workloads. So all these things are, again, I'm saying, very important. Detect failure points impacting the system. For example, sometimes what it happens is we have monolithic application architectures. So you need to understand if this complete application goes for failure, what will be the impact on the business. So you need to understand the failure point impacting the availability and fault tolerance of the application that can impact in the cloud environments. So you have to understand in the whole environment, like for example, if we go to the diagram, if we go to the diagram here at each and every point, whether it is a network point or if it is an application point, from network perspective, all the hardware infrastructure that is there, you have to understand single point of failure, so that in case anything, a single point goes for a failure, which is also called SPOF, single point of failure assessments and information gathering, so that you can understand. For example, this server goes down, this can impact all application. If this server goes down, that is again going to impact the application. So you have to understand what are the bottlenecks, single point of failures that can impact the application, right? So you have to understand all these challenges. So once you have understanding about all these things, you can use cloud native architecture to enhance the scalability and improve the reliability of the overall application. So I was covering the about the application. So I'm just creating small videos. So in the next video, I'm going to cover how to choose the right migration strategies for the applications. So once you gather all the information about the application, you can then jump on to selecting the right migration strategy for the application. So what I have covered so far is, under evaluating the application architecture, you need to gather information, ask right kind of documents to the customer, so you can understand all the different components of the application. So you need to cover the network mapping, their system configuration details, so that it can help you in facilitating the redesign. You have to analyze the performance, monitoring how the application is performing, and what baselines are there, and based on which you can create scaling designs. You have to understand the scalability issues, the bottlenecks, reliability challenge that application is facing. So how do you can gather these is, you need to sit with various application owners, SMEs, understand how application is performing, what challenges is facing, or if a company is having remote offices, you need to contact with the various remote office product managers also to understand what challenge do they face, so that based on that you can understand holistical and entire application architecture, and based on that you can decide the use the relevant AWS services that will come into picture. So that's it for today, and I have covered a lot of things. In the next video, I'll cover about the selecting the right migration strategies for applications. So that will be again really helpful. Ping me for any issues or any concerns or any questions. I'll really happy to help you out in any kind of queries. In case you have some queries related to the programs that we are offering, we have really experienced trainers having 18 to 20 years of experience, or AWS certified trainers. So you can come us come come us come come to us for any queries or any program queries or trainings. We will be happy to help you out to get more into deep of the application migration strategies, right? So these things are really important. Trainers have worked on the live projects, so based on which we are sharing the knowledge with you. So thank you so much. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. let me know. If you have any question, you can ping me on my email address. I'll mention all these details in the description of this video. Thank you so much.